Here we are with problem 1, trying to look at the parent graph, which is y equals x squared, which is a parabola. It's facing up. It's your basic u. That's the parent graph. Now we're wanting to know what happens when we do all these things to that x squared. In this first situation, A, we're going to add 4 to it. So what's that going to do to the x squared graph, which is like this? Well, if you add 4 to it, it's simply going to slide it up 4. It's simply going to shift it up 4. So for this one, for A, we would simply say slides up 4 units. Those are the worst units I've ever written. There we go, 4 units. B, it says what happens to that x squared if you multiply it by 2? Now, what's going to happen there? That's going to control sort of the shape of it. And if this is your normal y equals x squared, what happens if I multiply by 2 on the outside? It makes it grow more quickly straight up. So it makes it more narrow. It's going to make it narrower. It's going to make it shoot up more quickly. So this one's going to end up making it more narrow. So we're just simply going to say it's narrower. The x squared, if we do 2x squared, it's going to make it narrower. It's going to sort of go up more quickly. You think of like a slope. A slope of 1 is like this. A slope of 2 goes like this. So granted, it's not slope here, but if you have that parabola, what's going to happen is it's going to go up more quickly. So we're going to say it gets narrower. Here all we want to know is what happens if you have a negative in front. Well, we learned back in Algebra 1 that a negative makes it face, it's a downwards facing parabola if you have a negative there. Literally it's reflecting over the x-axis. But here I just want you really to say it's downward facing. We'll be fine, you can say that. We come to this. Now notice in this one, it's not x squared plus 3, like this x squared plus 4 that slid up. We're messing with the x directly before you're squaring it. Now this is the one thing that happens here. What happens is you think, oh, it's going to slide to the right 3. It's always going to be the opposite. If this says plus 3, that means it went over to negative 3. It slid to the left 3 units. Usually what we do is we take that set it equals 0, solve it. It tells us where the x-axis point is. But all we need to do here with these, simply if you notice it's plus 3, it's going to be the opposite. Now that's only when we're messing with the x. Here where we're messing with the piece outside of the x squared, that did slide it where we thought, up 4 units. But here where it says plus 3, we're going to go left 3 units. Okay? Now this one, notice that we're doing something outside of the x squared and with the x squared piece. So here, when we subtracted 1, when we mess with the x, that moves it the opposite of what we think. Since it says minus 1, that means it went to the right 1. Now this outside part, plus 2, that is going to slide that parabola up 2 units. So right 1, up 2 is what happens to this guy. Now here, with the x squared, we put a negative out front, which just like here, as we said, it makes it downwards facing. Downwards facing. And then negative 3 took that parabola, it's facing downwards like this, and slid it down 3 units. Again, we're not messing with the x itself like up here. This is on the outside. So here it went minus 3, so it went down 3 units. Almost there. The final one, the 3 out front. Now here's again your x squared. If you have a 3, think of a slope 3, makes it go up more quickly. So it got narrower with that piece. Narrower. And then we added 4, so we slid it up 4 units. And finally, we got a lot of stuff going on here. With this, the minus 1 on the x, that's going to take it. And remember, whatever you think, oh, it goes left 1, it went, no, because it's with the x. It doesn't go left 1, it does the opposite of what you think. So that one goes right 1 unit. The plus 1 here tells me it goes up 1 unit. But what about the half? Remember where it grew more quickly? On problems like this guy and this guy, where the slope got more, again, no slope in parabolas. But what happens to this parabola is a half doesn't make it grow more quickly, it makes it grow more slowly, so it ends up being wider. So what happens here is it's wider. It's a little bit wider out, more like a teacup. Then goes right 1 unit and up 1 unit is where that would be. So the starting point, the vertex of that parabola, okay, would be the ordered pair positive 1, 1. And we get to that more a little bit later on. But there you have problem 1 with what happens to the parent graph if we do all these changes in here to it.